I will give a small introduction to that session itself. So in previous class, we have discussed about what is CI and CD, right? In this session, we'll implement the CI part. What is CI stands for? Continuous integration, right? Now, let's see what is exactly meant by. Now, so let's say we have now what he is doing. He is committing the code to the code commit, or let's say in our case we are using GitHub. We can use any of it, right? Now, I know it's quite confusing now, but we'll let you know what happens exactly. Now next it will go to the code pipeline, and next it will go to the code build. Okay, first let's understand what are these terms. Now let's say you are a user and you have a GitHub and you are pushing some code into it. It might be a Python code or a full stack project, anything it may be. Now you are pushing the code into GitHub. Okay, now what happens is, here this code pipeline is doing the orchestration. Orchestration is nothing but automating the whole pipeline. So basically your GitHub will be the start point for the for the CI in the AWS. Now code pipeline, what it does is, it is a workflow orchestration tool used in AWS. Now what it does is it automatically manages the flow of CI. So it will detect the new code uploaded in the GitHub and it will send to the code build. Okay. So I will write here what is the function of this process. So here the user will pushes the code. Okay. User will pushes the code. And here the code commit or GitHub will triggers the code to send to the code pipeline. And here what it does, it will send it to the code build so that it will start building the building is nothing but generating an output file. Now in code build, what we'll see is it will check for some parameters, like it will check out the code, and it will test the code, it will do the code scan, and it will give the package output. Okay, now we'll try to relate with the AWS thing which we have learned so far. Now the code which is pushed by the user, I need to store it in S3 bucket, let's say. Okay, I need to store it in an S3 bucket. Okay. Now what the process will be, the user will pushes the code into GitHub and it will be stored in the GitHub. Now this code will be triggered to the code pipeline where the exact orchestration is done. Means instead of doing the manually this process, the user should do manually, right? Instead of doing all such kind of stuff, this process is automated. Now this is what exactly called as orchestration. Now here the code build will test the code and it will run the test cases and it will download the packages. Now let's say he is pushing a Flask code or a Python code. It requires some versions and it requires some requirements, right? That packages. Now it will import the packages required. This all stuff is done in code build. Now it will store that in S3 bucket. Now here a new term is learned which is called as artifact. Artifacts are nothing but the output files which are ready to deploy. So what are output file and how would we know if it has generated the output file? Means let's say he has uploaded some Java file, then we'll get .jar file. If I mean say I have meant to say if the user is pushing the Java code, then the output file will be the .jar file. Now he is uploading some Python file, then we'll get zip file. If he is pushing some web related file, then we'll get .html file. Now these are the artifacts. So in simpler terms to say, first we will code, next we'll build, next we'll generate the artifacts, next we can deploy. Right? This is the process which is carried out in the CA part. CA stands for continuous integration, right? So in this part, we'll follow these steps. Now you can ask me why we are following this process instead of doing manual thing. So here you can see that in manual process, the developer should write code manually. But in our CI process, the developer writes the code and automatically we are telling that to the CI pipeline, you should take the code and you should give me the artifact so that I can deploy it. Means here we are automating the entire process. Now here he should do manual testing, but in the code build process, which I said here, in the code build process, the testing is also done. Now here manual packaging should be done, means we should share the entire code as a zip or jar file, but here automatically packaging is done. And humans may do errors, but in this case there will be no missing steps, and it may take a lot of time to do this all process. But here by using this pipeline we can do it lesser time, and debugging is also done faster. And yes, instead of getting conflicting errors, we can do without errors, and the collaboration is also done quickly. Means at a time so let's say 10 developers can do the same project by using this CA pipeline. I hope it's clear. Now we'll go to the technical part.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think you got a bit of it, like whatever she said. I think you got it. So if we do it practically, we'll understand it more clearly. So before starting, I just want to make some things clear. Let me take a practical example. Imagine you and your friend are working on a project. So whatever the changes you do should automatically get reflected into the website which you are making. You are in India and your friend is in foreign. So you both collaborate in a video call while discussing about the project, but while working, you work on a single folder. So if the folder is local in your system, your friend can't access your folder, right? So you upload it in GitHub. That folder, so in GitHub terminologies, basically that is called a repository. So you create a repository and give access to your friend. Your friend also contributes to the repository and you see the changes. Then all the changes will be accepted. So whatever you do, you test it manually and you upload it to the GitHub. What you expect is whatever the changes you made here should directly get reflected into the website you are making. How is that possible? That is possible if you try to again uh, configure the settings, do everything, do every kind of stuff, like you add the file again into your own system, then run it, then again upload. It takes a lot of time, right? So basically this is the consequence which used to happen previously in software companies. So they came up with a solution. They came up with a solution called DevOps, which integrates development and operations. So basically, not to go too deep into it, I just want to say to automate this development and deployment things, DevOps came into the picture. So today's our concept is the first part of DevOps, which is called CI, which means continuous integration. Here we are not going to discuss the entire DevOps. For that we might have another series, but for now I just wanted to give a brief introduction of what is DevOps. So basically for DevOps, we use a tool called Jenkins. For continuous integration, we use a tool called Jenkins. What does Jenkins mean? Jenkins means it's a software, like it has connections with different applications. It can help you to test your code, like it has few plugins where you can test your code, etc. So I think this introduction is okay. Now let me directly jump on the practical part. I'll share my screen. So if it is clear, you can give a thumbs up, else you can post anything in the comment section. So let's try to see the first step, GitHub. I have already created a repository ready in order to save some time. So basic things, I just have app.py and requirements.txt. If you are new to this, it's still okay. App.py, it's a basic Python file, but here just not to write a Python file. I just wanted to show a web development file. Like I used Flask to write this. This is a basic Flask code. So why Flask? Because whenever we look into the deployment part, we need to find something running in our browser, right? We can't directly see something like hello world printing on our console. We want something running in our browser. Like we want a browser which shows something like this. So instead of directly using Python, I used Flask. Flask makes this thing very much easier because we have also seen it runs on the port like 127.0.0.1 colon 5000. If you have run this locally, you might have knowledge on this. Like if someone is new, I just wanted to make clear. I just wrote a simple code in Flask, and if we run any Python application, we import packages, right? So for that, I kept the packages in requirement.txt. It's a simple package. It's a Flask package. That's it. So I think this thing is clear to you. We have a GitHub repository in which our basic Python file is present. Previously, we have seen the same thing with our HTML file, but here we'll try to look it using a Python file. So you might ask, what is the difference? We have already seen in our previous class, right? See, I just want to make things clear. It is a HTML file and a static file. It won't give you any artifacts. I mean to say, it's a static file. You can run it anywhere. We used the concept called S3 static hosting, right? Here we are not going to use that because this is a dynamic application. As it needs some server to run, it needs a dynamic setup. So here you have heard about the artifacts, right? After running this will provide artifacts. So just enough of theory. Let's go to the practical directly. We have created our repository and our repository is ready. So this is our URL, but this part will be useful for us. Let's see why it is useful. Okay. So here we'll use two important tools, CodePipeline, CodeBuild. In software industries, when they are using DevOps, they have four basic steps. First one, code commit. Next step, code build. Next step, code test, and code deploy. These are the four steps. Code commit means getting the code from GitHub repository, and code build means you are installing all the requirements and running the code. Next, code test means testing the code if it has any bugs or not, then deploying the code, making the code accessible to everyone on the internet. So these are the four steps. Here, as we are discussing about continuous integration only, we need a pipeline. So for the pipeline, we'll use CodePipeline, and we need to build our file, right? Like install all the requirements automatically. For that, we'll write a script. We'll write a YAML script again. So just click on this CodePipeline. If you don't find it here, you can also search it, CodePipeline. So this is the first one, CodePipeline. Yeah, you need to create a new pipeline. Create pipeline, and it will it is very helpful. Like it shows you if you want deployment one or continuous integration, automation, custom pipeline. As our application is a continuous integration one, we might select this and go with CI build pipeline Python, but this is an automatic process. I am not going to prefer this right now. Let's go with custom build pipeline. You might ask, when we have a solution ready, why don't we go with this? Because I just want you to understand how it works basically, like in the backend what it is working. So when you know the functionality, you can directly use it. We'll also use it in a further classes, but for now I'll go with building a custom pipeline, and I'll click on next. I'll name this pipeline as AWS CI demo, something like this. So let's keep the things as it is. Queued means after one build process, another build, like after one pipeline executes, the another pipeline should execute, this kind of setting. Okay. Then let us give this to create a service role. Okay. Let's keep this also the same thing. And let's go to advanced settings. Okay. Nothing more to see. Click on next. And source provider, here this is very important because source provider means where you have your code ready. Where did we store our code? We stored our code in our GitHub repository, right? Let's check what all options do we have. We have AWS code commit, ECR, S3, like these are all the storage providers. As we have GitHub here, let's check this. I'll connect to my GitHub account. As I have already logged in, it shows I can connect. Okay, need to provide a connection name. AWS CI Git. Connect to GitHub. Okay, connect. Here I got a URL. Okay, my connection was successful. Let me copy paste this URL. I told you, right, we'll get back to this later. I'll copy paste this URL. Okay, it exists, so it doesn't show any error, and my default branch is main. Okay, next step. What's our next step? See, this is our main step. Previously we have skipped this, right? If you remember, we skipped this build stage, but here we are not going to skip the build stage because this is not a static application. This is a dynamic Flask application. So we need to build whatever we have, like we need to configure to install requirements, and we need to configure the Python version, and on what operating system it should run, and what are the environment it should function. Like these are all the things we should configure here. It might show optional here, but it is not optional when you are working on dynamic projects. Dynamic projects basically mean a full stack project. You consider this as a full stack project or a backend code which needs a server to run. HTML doesn't need any server to run. If you want to host HTML file, you can also do it using this thing, but this is out of the context. This is called GitHub pages. Like you can select lib from branch and main branch, and if you save this after refreshing this page 2 to 3 times, you'll have a URL here through which everyone can see your GitHub account. So yeah, this is not the context of today's class. Like I'll show you if you want. Okay, let me go back to this. Yes, here it shows us commands or other build providers. I'll click on this other build. Okay, sorry. One second, guys. Yes, I got it here. AWS CodeBuild. I'll select this. Please wait a second, guys. Okay. So where were we? We have chosen AWS CodeBuild, right? Let's. Okay, I already have this ready. I'm not going to use it. I'll create a new project. So I need to show it to you, right? How to create a new CI project. We are creating a pipeline, but for that we need to have a build project also, like a build. We need to build the code, right? Like configuring the artifacts, what are the requirements needed. So I'll maximize the screen, and I'll give a new project name. I'll give AWS code build 1. Okay, it need not be a unique name. Okay, am I sharing my screen? So let me go down. Yeah. Here I have told you, right, we need to select an operating system, for which I'll select Ubuntu. What does this mean? Why are we selecting an operating system? Why does that even needed? Okay, it is needed because the system, like the code build, it should run your Python application somewhere, right? So it needs an operating system to run. You might you might have looked into EC2 instance where we have created an Linux system. So here also, if you want to run a Python file, you need an operating system. You can also choose Windows, but for now I'm going with Ubuntu as we have seen from previous classes. So let me select the latest one, 7.0. Okay, I'll create a new service role. Let it be as it is. This thing is important. See, we have configured everything, but we need to also specify what to do exactly. Okay, yeah. So we can choose a file if it is already ready. I don't have a file ready, so I'm going with insert build commands. So it gives us a demo template. Yes, you can, yeah, you can edit it as you want, but for now I'll show what all to you. Okay, here it shows us a version, so let's keep it as it is, and the remaining things which are not important it shows in comments, but we can uncomment it. See, it changes the color, which means it becomes the important one. Now let's try to write this YAML script. I think you are aware of how to write a YAML script. We have written a basic YAML script, but here to write the build process, it can be a bit complex. So let me show you what to do. I'll make it more clear. Why do we have these phases? So why do we have all of these? Okay, let's start from beginning, not depend on template, but here phases is the important one. Give it tab space, and we have one thing to do. What is that? We need to install our requirements, right? If you have seen here, you have requirements.txt, where in requirements you have Flask. Here, where are we? Yes. So here we have written install to install the packages which are required. Okay. So why is this needed? This is needed because we are specifying it's a Python application and you need to build artifacts for the Python application only. So in our OS which we are creating, we are installing Python. So this is needed for that. Python, and what's the latest version? If someone is aware, 3.13. Okay. Okay, it might not pull 3.13. Let me keep it 3.11. And we have this runtime versions. Why did we go to next line? Why are we not continuing from like below of the Python only? Because here it acts as indentation, like this is within this, and when we are starting here new, we have something other. We have a thing called commands, which you can give in quotes, or it depends. So let's just give two commands. Pip install. If you are familiar with if you are familiar working with Flask, you might find this more easier. So this command we use to install our requirements, right? Requirements.txt. Okay, that's done. One thing we have configured, we told that to install our Python software into the OS which it gave us, and then install the requirements. Then what next? So our first phase is install phase. Then we have another phase called build phase. So this is the main phase. So it gave us the default ones. Let's try to print few statements. Echo means it prints, like printf or print in Python, it prints few statements. Okay, let's directly write them. Print will started on date. Then echo running tests, something like this. Few statements which makes some sense. Echo tests. Don't worry if you are new to this, you might get habituated if you keep practicing them. Okay, complete. Then what's the final thing? We also have artifacts. Artifacts means the end products after completion of this execution. What should it give? Artifacts. Okay, where are we writing this? We need to write it here, right? Yeah, artifacts are the end products. Files. Let's use them. So we need to be careful while naming them. Let's give it the whole thing. Like why did we give this thing? We gave this stars because uh, it should fetch all files from our GitHub repository. Like this includes all files in our project. Then are we keeping them in our base directory or not? So it gives us, if base directory, let's keep it a full stop. This makes sure to store everything from root of the project. Then we have a location where to store these artifacts. So we'll store them in S3 bucket, S3 location. Okay, for that I'll create an S3 bucket, or I'll choose an existing S3. Okay, I need a new tab, but this recording obstructs this. Okay, I'll search S3, open this in a new tab. For simplicity, I'll create a bucket, artifacts. Okay, and block all public access. I'll enable this bucket versioning. You know why did I enable this bucket versioning? I enabled it because if there's a new version of any artifact, so the old version should have a number and new version should have another number, then should not be deleted, just like a version control system. S3 acts. Then I'll create the bucket. Okay. I need to give a new name, right? Artifacts code build new 1 2. Okay, what's our date today? 28. New 2804. I think this is a unique name. No one will name in this way. Okay, bucket is created. What next? Okay, let's copy this path of this bucket. Not the path, but name of this bucket. Okay, if you feel confusing, you can post a message, so I can let the confusion go away. It should work. Hope everything is fine. Okay, then our setup is ready. Okay, this checking this option will upload build outputs logs to. Okay, I'll enable this. Bucket, what should I name it? Okay, I'll keep this. Hope it works. Okay, what happened? Okay, it got created. Let's check it here. See, successfully created AWS CodeBuild 1 in CodeBuild. We have this project. What next? Our region is Asia Pacific Mumbai. Done. Then click next. We don't need any test stages. We are not looking for deployment here. Then hope everything is configured well. I'll create a pipeline. So it is initiated. It takes like a few minutes, 2 to 3 minutes to get created. So until then, if you have any doubts, please let me know. Class is not over yet. Like, let's see what happens next by uploading a file and see if it triggers the pipeline. So until it gets created, let me know if everything is clear or still some messy part is remaining. Like if you are stuck somewhere, please let me know. Okay, both were successful. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, let's check by adding. What tab do we have here? Very well, we got another tab. Okay, let's make a change in our repository. I'll make a basic change. You can see both the stages completed successfully. Code build is also done successfully. Let's check what happens if I update it. Okay, I'll remove this here. Or yeah, okay, I'll add something. Okay, how done it. Okay, we made a new change. You have seen we made a new change just now. Let's see if it got triggered or not. Okay, let me check. 4 minutes ago, release the change. So it started building again. Okay, until then, let me check S3 buckets. If there is something. Okay. Okay, here it shows it's empty. It's fine. See here, a new folder got created. Let me click on this. Yes, exactly. Whatever we expected, they got created. Today you can see date is April 28 and time. So you can see it just created now. So the thing is successful. So I want to make it clear what all we have discussed. We wanted it to generate the artifacts, right? So here you can see the artifacts got created. It created a new folder in which you can see these artifacts. Okay, here I disabled bucket version. Let me keep it as it is. So here you can check this metadata. I'll explain how to view artifacts and what are these artifacts in our further classes. But for now, you just observe everything got created perfectly. So the important part and the heart of this project is writing the YAML script correctly. If you don't write YAML script correctly or not configure the things properly, it won't work. So let me see. Yeah, now also build was successful. So it was 1 minute ago. Let me check again. I'll refresh it. Not this, sorry. So in this I don't have anything. Don't know why. Okay. See, here another change got committed. Previously we had two things here, but here I made a change. I changed a Python file, right? See, it is the latest time. Previously both showed like 846 and 846. Here it shows 851, which means it was completed recently. I think the thing is clear for you. If we go to deployment, if we try to implement the deployment part, you might find it more helpful because you might also see what all changed. Here you can just see the artifacts which got created. You might also get confused what are these artifacts and why are we learning about it. But it's fine. You just need to know for this class. You just need to know whatever the changes are happening in Git repository are getting reflected here, which means we can see the changes here. A new artifact is getting created every time we are making a change. So I just don't want to disturb this pipeline again. Like if you want, you can tell me. If you want another change and want to see it again, you can tell me. Else, that's for the class. Like if anything is not clear, if this hosting, if this artifact thing is not clear, you can also tell me. Let's try it again. If everything is clear, you can proceed with your doubts. Thanks, listener. So hope everything is clear. So this thing is not for free because AWS is managing everything. So it might also cost you. It might cost you in few dollars. Like for testing, it doesn't cost you as you are using within free trial. But deleting everything after creation is very much important because it might charge you as it is managing everything. Okay, pipelines. See, when you do it on your own, it might take a lot of time. I mean, when you try to configure using Jenkins and these all, that might take a lot of time. But here, without any technical knowledge of what Jenkins is and how it works, we have done it directly. This is what startup companies or a few other companies also do to save their time, and they won't see much about how much it is costing them. They will just proceed with this automatic CI/CD pipeline. You have seen, right? The thing was very simple. It is done within seconds. Like in Jenkins and other things like other than AWS. I mean to say, if you use tools like Jenkins, SonarQube, these will also take less time only if you learn them. Like the process will take a minimal time, just like this. But learning those things, configuring them, and creating some setups, it might take some time. But here you have seen the process was very smooth. At the same time, it also charges you, but few people won't consider the charges as they want productivity. So to delete, you can delete it, and you should also delete code build projects which you have done. Okay, I have two of them. Actions, delete. Okay. So please ensure you delete them after your project is over, because it might cost you if you keep on running them or you keep on releasing new changes, so that a pipeline will get triggered and start again. You have seen pipeline started two times previously. As we do the change, pipeline will again start from scratch. I mean to say, pipeline starts from fetching, then building, then deploying. Here we haven't configured deployment, but pipeline works this way. If you want to check your bill, you can check billing and cost management. So here for me, I haven't used anything beyond free tier limit, so it doesn't show me. It just shows $0.68, which like we have used more than one EC2 instances. Like have used it previously. Just before teaching you, have used EC2 instances more. So it just shows this way: EC2 tags, virtual private cloud, etc., etc. Hope everything is clear. Try to implement this practically by yourself. You'll get more understanding of how it works. Tomorrow we'll see the deployment part. We have seen CI part. Tomorrow we'll see again the whole thing: CI and CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment. If possible, we'll see the whole thing. Otherwise we'll just see CD part. Hope today's class is clear. If you have any queries or any questions regarding to your AWS account or configuring or creation of AWS account, you can tell me. If no doubts, we can end the session here. That's fine. Thank you all. Let's meet up in the next class. Have a great day. Thank you.